You and I with Rashmi Shetty is a human library audio podcast bringing in stories of people you and I can draw inspiration from. Welcome to the third season of this amazing story listening journey. Ordinary folks, extraordinary lives, their uniqueness and individuality, making them interesting to talk to and to listen to, each one of them completely connected to the voice in me and with motivational stories of moving beyond themselves to make a difference in the world. A reaffirmation of the fact: open your eyes wider. The world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. The National Handloom Day is observed on August 7th every year in India to recognize the efforts and skills of the community of weavers engaged in this sector. Our guest today is someone who's given up almost 2 decades of her corporate experience to work with the Ilkal weavers of Karnataka for the last 6 years and has had a rewarding journey. Vrunda Sekhar is an Ilkal revivalist, handloom researcher, and weaver storyteller based out of Bengaluru, facilitating marketplaces for weavers and bridging the gap between weaver and consumer have been her primary areas of engagement. Marketing and promoting Karnataka saris as a must-have for Indian women and propagation of the Ilkal saris as a national weave of historical and cultural significance are also her other areas of work. Championing the rights of weavers, she is involved in research and revival of the long-lost design palettes of Karnataka weaves. Brinda has also served as a consultant to the government of Karnataka in the departments of Kannada Culture and Karnataka Urban Water Supply Board as a media specialist. Brinda has served as a member of the Janapada Loka at Ramnagara in Karnataka and as the ex-vice president of the Karnataka Handloom Council. A certified auditor of POSH, this sari aficionado and handloom lover loves wildlife photography and Indian classical music. Listen in as she shares her journey and the inspiring story of how she found her purpose. Hi, Vrunda. Such a pleasure catching up with you. Welcome to You and I with Rashmi Shetty. And whatever you're doing currently, we'll definitely come to that because it's meaningful work. But I want to know what little Vrinda was like, as bubbly, as alive as how you come across today, or was she much quieter and had a very different childhood?
Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you so much for having me. I am from Malnad, Shimoga. So, no sooner I say Malnad, a lot of people have a lot of questions. They think that we are virtually growing up in the wild, or it seemed so when I was growing up. Because a lot of people have asked me if it is true that I used to grow up with wild animals and reptiles and whatnot, which partially is true because in the place I used to live near Shimoga, we had a huge Tunga channel, and that was frequented by wild elephants. And just as you see dogs are in your locality and area, we used to have elephants come by that way and, majestically walk in the area. And so I grew up like that. I grew up in an area which are the forest reserves now. The Badra forest area was not the forest area then. And I used to go there with my father and chase river terns and ospreys and birds like that. So I've grown up like that. So that's my background. And I must tell you this incident. I must have been in nursery or a little older, first standard or something like that. And I wanted to see a leopard, having seen it in my textbook. So I told my father that, Appa, I want to see a leopard. So Appa said, get ready by evening. I'll take you to show you the leopard. So that evening, my mother set me up, as in full sleeved clothes, because the area that I was going to was mosquito infested. So my father took me in his jeep, and we went to a particular rocky area. And he said, if the mosquitoes bite you, you should sit calm and just bear the pain because you want to see the leopard, right? What is more important, mosquitoes or the leopard? I said, okay, Appa, I will not crib. There will be no sound from my side, but I still want to see the leopard. So about 15 minutes after he parked his jeep, a leopard mom and a small leopy just crossed the road. He put the headlights on. They looked at the headlights for about 2 minutes. They did not growl. It was more of curiosity than aggression. And they looked, and the leopy mom took the leopy baby inside the bushes. And that's how I have grown up. So typically the wild child of Malnad. And for what I do now, the background and the seeds were sown then itself. I spent my summer in Hegodu. Hegodu is near Shumaga, near Sagara, where my father used to send me for 2 months for a camp for a number of years. So I have had plants grow in my name. I've become into trees and organic, whether it is rivers or trees and saplings and everything that's organic started there, because I also work with weavers who do organic sari making and things like that. So the love started then itself.
So nature was clearly an integral part of your growing up years. And
All the time. Even now, there is nothing, without nature. What I do are all nature related. So maybe the nature is a part of my DNA as well. Yes.
wow, clearly. I want you to go back a little again into that childhood of yours in school. How were you as a student? And later on, what did you study and how did life progress?
I have always been the notorious one. Typically, the phrase that goes, the lords of last bench. I was one of them, and I have been a terror, which in hindsight now, it would have been so difficult for them to have managed students like me. But then I grew up, since I was in the lap of nature, for me, the first love was nature and not really school. Whatever I learned it practically, as opposed to going to the school and learning it. I was interested in sports most of the time, and hence studying scholastic work took a backseat. But then, since I was a part of the debates and the elocution teams and essay writing team and a whole lot of other facilities, I scraped through, and it was fun. I mean, for me, school has been total fun. And my friends who I connected after many, many years still recall what a tomboy I was and what a terror I have been to the teachers when I was studying.
No, just that story of the leopard and how your dad actually complied and took you to see the leopard itself shows that what an amazing upbringing you must have had. How
Absolutely.
did that translate, Brinda, into what you wanted to do? So, being a tomboy all through school, when you reached your 10th, or what subjects did you choose, and what were your dreams for the future?
Surprisingly, I had no clue what I wanted to do. The only thing that I had envisaged back then when I was studying in school was that I would have wanted to live somewhere near the Joke Falls, and perhaps run a small school for the people living in that area, especially the catchment area of Joke Falls, because I come from that area, right? I'm from Shimoga. That is all I had in mind. I had no clue what I was going to study and what I was going to become. But then I took up humanities and I studied arts, and I graduated in journalism, psychology, and English, with a post graduation in English and a postgraduate diploma in public relations and advertising. So, as I studied along, I realized that I did not want to follow my father's profession. My father's a journalist. But I progressed into PR, which is a part of journalism, of course. And since then, since I did my PR and advertising, my love for communication being a touch point of all that was necessary grew as well. And I forayed into doing public relations and corpcom for many a corporate. And until I did my corporate work for about 20 years, I did not wear saris. Because I have always thought that I would use, or rather, I used to think that there was always a sari time, which now, is not the right way to think, I feel, because I'm a sari wearer completely. And back then, it was a no sari time. So even for reference, a lot of people do this before and now, then and now images on social media, right? I don't have a single photo that I can say that I wore a sari that I compare with myself with now. So it was a complete corporate background, and I had no inkling nor inclination to, work in this space, or I did not think that my life would take a complete U-turn to foray into saris and work with weavers and work with natural dye weavers and whatnot. So all that happened as a result of a small visit to a temple, and my life changed.
So, like you, there are many people that I have met, like you were. There are many people I have met in the corporate world who say that, oh my God, tying a sari is such a big task. I don't think I can manage the whole day with it. While, as somebody who does drape the sari very often, I know it's not that difficult. First and foremost, we'll get into that story that changed it all for you, as in what happened in that visit to the temple that made somebody who always looked for a sari day to make sari every day for you.
As I said, my wearing sari was more out of coercion, both by my mother and my mother-in-law, who always said that I would look better in saris than the dresses that I always wore. So much so that weddings meant that I would wear a kurti on top of a denim and attend it. So when I was growing up, when I was very young, we lived in Dharwad. I grew up in Dharwad as well before we moved to Shimoga. My that way my pedigree has been extremely privileged, because my father got to know that we are related to Dara Bendre after we moved to Dharwad. And Dara Bendre took my father in under his wing, and my father spent a lot of time with him. When I was born, Bendre Aja did not have grandchildren of his own, although he had 4 or 5 children, and they did not have offspring. So I was their granddaughter at home, and I spent about 4 years in their house. Yeah, growing up in his house, who taught me the beauty of nature, who taught me music, who taught me, to love sweets, who taught me a lot of things. In fact, every time that my father has to say something about me, he says, "You're doing this only because you were influenced by Bendre Ajja." So it so happened that Bendre Ajja's son Vaman Kaku was gravely ill, and he had wished to see us, because of which my mother and I went to Dharwad to meet him. Despite his ill health, he spent about half a day with us, showing all the places where Ajja took me, and what all he fed me. What are the poems that were written with me around him, and things like that. So that was an eye opener for me. Vaman Kaku took me around to many places that Ajja used to frequent with me in tow. And at that point in time, I did not realize the gravity of how privileged an upbringing I have had. But then it seemed nice. It seemed a little weird. But then my mother knew, of course, what was happening. But then, although it was in my adult life that it happened, then I did not realize the gravity of the situation. If you actually go to Sadhankeri, where Bendre Ajja grew up, you will see that there is a tulsi katte. That tulsi katte is a very important part, an integral part of his life and the lives of the people who he came across or who influenced him as well. So apparently, I spent the most time with him there, playing around the katte, and where he wrote poems with me in tow, which I studied in school and college later, which I had no clue about. So when Vaman Kaku was telling me about my association with their family and Ajja in particular, he also told me that the Ajja wanted to see me in an Ilkal Nawari sari. Ilkal Nawari sari, what on earth is that? Karke, I just said, okay, I am just going to hear him because maybe I'm not able to comprehend what he's trying to tell me. I said, Ilkal. He said, yes, Ilkal. I said, all right, sure, thank you so much. And after that, my mother took me to a temple. And she said, having come this far, the Saudati temple near Harvard is the seat of Yellamma, goddess Yellamma. And since my first morsel of food came from Yellamma, Amma said, listen, we are close by. We should not head back without visiting her. Let's just go, pray, and head home. I said, okay. Now we have come to Ajja's house, which I don't know about. Now let's go there. Maybe there is something else there happening as well, is what I told her, and we went to the temple. After that, when we went to the temple, we did not realize that that day was the most important day of the transgenders, the Devadasis, the Jogamas and Jogatis, who owe their allegiance to this goddess Yellama. Perhaps Yellama temple is the only one of its kind where the entire LGBTQ community owe their allegiance to, including the Devadasi is no longer prevalent, right? But then there are still those small parts that still exist because of the system that it is, which will not go away completely. And I go to the temple. I visit. I visit the temple with my mother, and that day is the day of all these people. It is a Hunnime, and full moon day, and then so the entire temple, the sancto sanctorum and the sanctorum are full of the trans people, the jogamas and jogatis, both from men to women, women to men. They are called jogamas and jogatis. So they have in their hand the vermilion and the kumkum, Arishina Kumkuma. And no sooner I got inside the sanctorum, one by one after the other, started applying this haldi kumkum on me. My mother was taken aback. She said, what is happening? I mean, why are you putting it on her? We have just come to visit the temple and nothing else. So the head priest or the Jogati said, listen, she is your daughter. We agree. But then you have come here for a reason. But for her calling, you would not have been here today and right now. Just go along with the flow. We mean no harm to her. On the contrary, all these things that we will do to her will only bring her good. And so I stood there, and every single person there in the sanctum and the sancto sanctorum applied the tilak and the vermilion on me. So imagine 1,000 people. I stood by, it took about 2.5, 3 hours. I stood there and I got all of it applied on my face and my cheeks. After all these things, after all the entire process was over, the priest, the head priest came by. He put this garland on me, the garland that's made of kauri leaves, kaude. Yeah. And then he gave me an Ilkal sari as a prasad. So I took it and I said, I don't know what's happening to me. And I said, listen, Amma, I'm not born to wear this sari. First of all, I will not wear saris. On top of it, these kind of loud saris, no way, no chance. So please don't expect me to wear all these things. This is yours, karke. I just thumped it on her and I went to the gadi. My mom said, she heard me and said, listen, you wear it once. Maybe because it is a prasad, just wear it once. And if you don't like it, I'm always there. I mean, you don't like it, I'll wear it. I will just give it off to me. But then after having gone through this and received the prasad, I think it is only right for you to wear it once. I said, just once, huh? After that, you're going to get it back. She said, absolutely fine. Rashmi, I wore the sari, and here I am today, which transformed me 360 degrees. And my work involves working with the ecosystem, close to about 5,000 weavers, helping them every day, reviving saris, Ilkal saris that were once in existence years or centuries ago, which is my calling now, and will be my work until my last breath.
Oh my God. If you can recall that moment when you wore the sari, what shifted within you, Vrunda, for you to take this amazing step? Because the way it fell in place with the Vaman Kaku telling you that this is what Ajja picturized you, and you going to the temple and you getting an Ilkal sari as a prasad there. What actually happened when you wore the sari that you decided to make this your mission?
When I was wearing, I had no clue what I was getting into, Rashmi, seriously, because it was a sari for me. And I had promised my mom that I would wear and return it back to her, because I was very sure that I was not going to do anything with it thereafter. But when you get something as a prasad, you always know that there is some energy attached to it, right? Whatever it may be, even the small flower that you receive, you may not want to junk it immediately, right? You will hold it for some time, and enjoy it until, let's say, if it is a flower, you will wait until it withers, and then perhaps keep it aside and not really throw it away. This beautiful energy that I felt when I was being applied with the haldi and kumkum is unexplicable. But then when I wore the sari, all of that energy that was coming to me then started coming back to me again. If you have to be a believer to believe this, okay? If you have a scientific mind, you wouldn't, these would just be coincidental, right? And you wouldn't attach a lot of value. There is no emotion to this if you strictly have a scientific mind. But then if you are a believer, that I became when I got applied with haldi and kumkum from those people, I thought there must be something, there must be some energy, and there must be something different that I was going to do that I had never done before, because this experience I had not experienced before. So when I wore the sari, this is the sari that I got and I wore. I wore the sari and something in me changed. So as one sari, I thought, let me buy one more. Maybe the feeling that I'm going through may not be the right feeling. So it could just be incidental, and I will buy one more sari, and that feeling or the energy will go away. But then I'm very proud to tell you that I own 100 saris now. All this is a result of the work that I have done with the weavers, and the saris that I wear are what the weavers have made for me. So I can proudly say all the saris that I own are made for Vrinda.
That is a super special feeling to have saris
Absolutely.
exclusively for you, especially
Absolutely.
for somebody who did not wear saris before. This is like a gift from above, for sure.
Absolutely.
But what is the story behind Ikkal saris by itself, and where does their history go, Vrunda? As you got deeper into it, what is it that happened that you had to revive the whole tradition? And any stories about the weavers that you think made you realize that, yes, this is my purpose?
What was just an aberration that I thought was no longer an aberration, because the interest grew. I come from a communication background, hence, the analytics and a whole lot of other things that involves these touch points also became very important for me. I grew curious. I wanted to know the background of these saris. So what I did was, I first looked up the net on what Ilkal saris were, and how old were they, and how traditional are they, and how many people wear them, and things like that. It's a very beautiful story. Goddess Banashankari at Badami used to be, is, or I mean, it's difficult to talk for the past, right? So is the tutelary goddess of the Chalukyas. The Chalukyas started their reign in the second half of 600. So 600 AD. So the first, the king of Chalukyas, the Eastern Chalukyas, built the temple after which the Ilkal saris got popular. How the goddess had to be adorned with some fabric, right? And the first sari that was made for the goddess was an Ilkal sari. How was it? How could it have been? We have no clue about. Nor has there been any documentation of any kind for us to refer and go with how it could have possibly been. But then, since this has been, in existence in 7th century, and the colors and the fabric and the designs that have been in use since then more or less remain similar. We would assume that these are the designs that have been prevalent since then. It is said, or it was assumed that there were over 100 designs, which unfortunately we have no documentation of. And now we are only left with about four, or the fifth design is in contention because we don't have the looms to make the fifth design. But then there are four designs now, and only about four designs in the border, and three designs in the palla, sergu. So the earliest documentation we have been able to find is in the Gulbarga Gazetteer that Mr. Professor Kalburgi wrote. But then that also documents only a few lines about Ilkal saris being used as an adornment or to wrap around the goddess Banashankari, and that's all we have. In fact, we have tried sourcing for some of these designs if we could have at the temple at the caves of Badami, but unfortunately we have not been able to find anything so far. But then this sari is also Ilkal saris are also inspired by nature, and the least or the smallest that you design, the smallest of the designs that you find in them also has a reference to nature, because the designs that we call, which is the toputeni, this you see, this is the one. This is actually inspired by the Jovar Bajra tip point, which is like a tassel, right? This is inspired by it. Okay, so and some of these small designs that you find are all earlier used to be made from indigo. That is why you had dark colors on Ilkal saris, primarily because indigo was the base color on which they used to make these saris from. But then, I don't know if you remember the indigo revolution that happened in the Deccan and Bengal during the British regime. And during that time, the entire indigo cultivation depleted because of the British coming and taking away all the indigo, which they were not able to reharness that, right? So both in Bengal as well as the Deccan, the entire cultivation came to a halt. There is some left in Bengal now and parts of Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, which is why you see a little bit of indigo revival happening. But then, unfortunately, in Deccan, where the saris are made no longer have indigo related saris that are being produced. So these saris primarily used indigo as a natural ingredient or a primary ingredient to make the sari. But unfortunately, we no longer have indigo cultivation in the Deccan anymore, which is why most of the saris now are made on artificial colors. But then now I'm very happy to tell you that I'm working with a group of interested weavers who basically want the revival to happen the way it was hundreds of years ago, and that is actually the substance, or what you call the asmite of the land, right? So I'm actually working with them, and every day is a new learning experience. And I keep thinking that, oh, this must have been the way the weavers worked back then. Of course, we are not backed with documentation of this kind, but we are able to put the jigsaw puzzle in a way that is making comprehensive sense for us, because we are going back and referring to how things were made because of all the small equipment that we are now able to find from different old home weavers' old homes attics. So we are able to piece it together and see if that makes any cohesive sense for us. And some of it is actually falling in place. Most of it is not. But that trial and error will go on.
Hmm. And when you say we, Vrinda, who's we? What does
We always means the weavers and I. It is a collective work, because this is not an individual effort. Because what you don't have as reference nor documentation, you'll have to collectively do on the basis of wisdom, and whatever we are able to source from these old weavers, old weavers who are about 80 plus, whatever they are able to share with us, we bring it together and piece it together to see if it makes any legible sense for us to take on the work. For instance, we don't know how things were 100 years old, because, as I said, we have nothing to go back to and refer it with. But then I'm very happy to tell you that our oldest weaver is 94. Can't see, can't hear, but then he is a gold mine, because we have been able to piece together a lot of information only with his experience, having worked in the system all his life. If he's 94, he must have started weaving when he was 3 or 4 years old. All the saris, most of the sari weaving is a community activity, and a family activity in particular. What happens is that when you make a sari, any sari that you make across the country, it happens in two parts. One, a system that preps the weaving. The second is the weaving by itself. All right. So the entire family is engaged in this occupation of prepping a loom, so that a weaver can loom the saris or fabrics. So this is done by even the small children of the house. As early as 1 year or 2 years, the children start fiddling with the looms, and these spindles and many other things that goes on to make the loom. So the rollers, and if you have seen a charaka, like a movable circular equipment that is done to roll the threads. You have now mechanized equipments as well, but then that can still be fiddled with by children to make these weavable threads. So they started early. So it's a family occupation, so to say. And the women participate, the children participate, the head of the house. It is now women who are also participating in weaving. Earlier, it used to be men, and they prep the entire loom for the man to be able to weave. What I am wearing, what anybody wears, contains a sari essentially contains a minimum of 25,000 to 35,000 individual yarns that goes to make a sari. So those 30,000, 35,000 yarns are mounted individually on the loom. So you can imagine the kind of effort it takes and the number of people that it takes to make the loom ready. So in North Karnataka, in parts of Deccan, in most parts of Deccan, I keep repeating this Deccan thing because the Deccan Plateau is where our Ilkal saris began, and they are a huge inspiration to all the weaves, around or that surrounds it. Saris like Pattadanchu, saris like Paithani, saris like Puneri, Solapuri sari, Jijamata sari, the saris from Telangana, like Gadwal, like Venkatgiri, like Narayanpet, all have derived inspiration from Ilkal saris. In fact, Ilkal sari is the mother, and all these are children and sisters and cousins.
So even Pochampalli and all that have got.
Everything is inspired by Ilkal, yes.
Okay. Okay. A question I forgot to ask you, but I should have asked you much before you shared these stories is now when you look back, what was it about these saris that made you decide to give up a profession to help the weavers? You wore the sari, you felt the energy that you felt the day in the temple, that you were blessed with your mission. But what prompted you to find out that that was your mission, and what made you curious to go on the journey to find out about this?
Sometime in life, such things have a profound effect on you, that it becomes your calling,
Mm.
right? I had no clue, as I said, what I was getting into, but then somehow, the sari made me think that there is something beyond just this being a fabric, and perhaps I must do something more than what I am able to see. And so let me make some inquiries and let me figure out what this is all about. So I got in touch with one weaver and I said, "Listen, I have no clue what this sari is about. I don't know its history. I don't know how many people are employed. I don't know how many weavers are currently weaving these saris. Tell me a little bit more about this." So luckily, the first weaver was the best weaver that I got. And then every day for me became a learning because, dutifully I would make notes of whatever he told me because it is like it was a new field. I was entering into a white canvas that I had, no clue about. I realized that as he started telling me, he also told me the problems that the system faces and how difficult or how hard it was to sell any fabric or sari that any system produced. I came from a typical marketing PR background, right? So I said, don't worry, we will start marketing this, but then give me a background. Let me understand what one can do with a system of this kind. I first realized that the awareness about a sari like this was extremely less, very low. I mean, uh, there is a reason for this as well. I mean, I'm not saying this is something is at fault, a system is at fault. No, there is a reason why the popularity of a particular weave has not gone beyond a boundary that it is currently. If you see in North Karnataka, the tip of central Karnataka to North Karnataka is Ranebennur, from where the North Karnataka technically begins, and anywhere beyond beneath Ranebennur, people don't wear Ilkal saris. Nobody has. I mean, they have a clue, but they don't wear it. In South Karnataka, people even don't know that there exists something called Ilkal saris. So in North Karnataka, the consumption of these saris is so high because this is used by practically everybody, every single woman in North Karnataka will possess a minimum of about 20-25 saris. And it is more prevalent in southern Maharashtra because of its popularity and usage. Hence, it has not moved beyond those geographical boundaries. There has been no need for them to serve any other market other than the North Karnataka or the southern Maharashtra market, which is why it is not popular. But then I said, no, everybody in Karnataka at least should know that there is something called Ilkal saris that has a very, very rich history. That's a traditional weave that you should be aware. You don't have to own one, but then so long as you are aware, at some point, like I said, there's a sari time. If the sari time comes, probably you would like to buy one, right? So I realized that there was no awareness of the very important thing that one had to do to ensure that the productivity increased for the weaving system was to create awareness. And since then, it's been 6 years that I have been involved with them fully. I still continue to create awareness, Rashmi. Because the more awareness you create, the more chances that are likely that people are inclined to pick up one sari, and many, wearer would say, you just can't do with one. That's where we are currently.
Yeah, when you said Southern Maharashtra, Paitini again is something that is very popular in Maharashtra. And Ilkal, I see in Pune and that area also is a
Uh,
popular weave that.
Also because, see, there is one of the reasons why Ilkal is quite popular there. The price point of a Paithani is much higher than it is with Ilkal. Ilkal does not pinch you in any way. The saris that you buy are not heavy on your pockets, that you don't have to think to buy.
Mm.
You would buy only now, you would buy only out of interest. In North Karnataka, people buy it for their occupation, people working in the fields, people working in factories, people working under so many industries buy it as a want for their daily lives.
Mm.
For people living in places other than North Karnataka, it is only out of curiosity, interest, or some kind of a North Karnataka background, or pure awareness creation that many systems have tried to do, which I have also tried to do. And that's how we are able to, produce more and sell more to markets other than strictly North Karnataka market.
Okay. And are they purely handloom? Because you said there are 35,000 rolls that go into each of the saris that are produced. Is this purely a handloom kind of a weave, or
Um,
they
currently,
power looms?
current, Currently, Rashmi, we have about 45,000 weavers, and yeah, hand weavers, and about a lakh and 10,000 machine weavers
Okay.
who are currently weaving the saris.
Mhm.
It is no longer practical to work on the looms by hand alone, because it is not viable. It does not fetch you much. Why I say this is because a handloom sari takes about 4 to 6 days to make,
Mm.
whereas a machine produced sari can be made within a day. In a day, you can produce about 4 to 6 saris, whereas it takes 4 to 6 days to produce one sari. So that's a huge disparity, right? And people, the big picture for us, however, is that handloom is the tradition, is the heart of our land, and things like that. But then the weavers want faster money. Post COVID, things have actually changed largely. It is not how it used to be, and everybody wants to make that quick buck, and it is fair, because to waste 4 days to 6 days on a sari and to get productivity more within a day makes a difference, right? So a lot of handloom weavers are migrating to become machine made weavers. There is also one more reason for this, is that's the government giving them subsidies. The government gives subsidy on the machines, which is why all you need is a little extra space where you can put the machines and work. Now there is a third variant as well. It is half handmade and half machine made. You prep all your saris on the by hand, and the last bit of work where you pull and mix the warp and the weft. Warp is from left to right, weft is from top to bottom. So the threads from left to right are far higher because they wind around your body, right? The top to bottom is lesser. So when the warp and the weft come together, they're juxtaposed and they become a fabric. That portion is now done by the machines. Only that interlinking and the connecting mechanism is now done by the machine. So largely people are opting into half hand and half machine as well, which again, according to me, makes practical sense as well, because you're able to produce more. But
Mhm.
there is an old school, traditional school, which would prefer saris. Like all our mothers and grandmothers would still want to buy a completely handmade sari, right? But then this is a new age. We're trying to contemporize a traditional weave, which is not easy. It's the most difficult thing to do, but then the efforts are on to give it that modern touch to a traditional weave, and that's the challenge, but that's an opportunity as well.
True, true. Because wherever a challenge arises, there is an opportunity hiding, which many people identify or don't. That's a choice they have. And you just brought in the COVID as well. And that was one thing that shook everyone at the core. First, to understand the fickleness of what life is all about and why it is important that relationships be given a lot more value. But for the weaving community, that must have been a jolt because suddenly people were inward, they were not going out shopping. Uh, how were those 4 years for the weaving community, and what were some specific reflections, Vrunda, that you had since
Um,
you were very close to that community during the pandemic time?
in fact, I must not be saying this, but COVID is some kind of a blessing in disguise for many weaving systems where people no longer have to touch and feel the sari, can buy it online. Pre-COVID, most of us actually would have preferred to go to a store, felt the sari. Normally, what you do is you insert your hand in the sari, feel the fabric. Although you may know nothing about it, but you still do that exercise, right? That joy that it gives you when you're buying it, when you're feeling the sari. During the pandemic, uh, our people were hit only in terms of producing and delivering, but the interest in the weaves did not wane. As the pandemic was progressing and people realized that this is the new way to be, uh, weavers also realized that possibly we will not be able to sell it by hand, and online is now the new way to sell. So, what happened during the pandemic is that the interest and the awareness for the weave grew. Although production did not happen the way ideally we would have wanted. And post COVID, the situation also came such that it became very difficult for the weavers to even procure the threads for looming, and the silk rate shot up, dramatically, where the cost of a kg of silk was only about 4 to 5,000 rupees. It got placed at 9,500 rupees. So it was getting to be extremely difficult to even produce the sari. But then the interest in buying any sari across the country also grew. Hence, it was the time of awareness and the time of having to buy it online. Now, what is happening is that COVID also taught them to be self reliant. A lot of them have come to the market on their own, or through resellers. But then what they're also doing is that when you buy a sari, saris that are not priced that high, it does not pinch your pocket. So as I said, first sari is bought out of interest. And the fact that your people would have worn, you have seen your friends wear it on social media and talk about it, or having heard it through word of mouth, in conversations with your people and things like that. But then now buying saris online have actually grown rampant. I mean, the sheer number of people buying it online is just not funny. So we are thankful. As I said, COVID also has had its bright side, where many weavers now are able to sell on their own, and this also has given us opportunity to work on several new things which had not been attempted before. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So COVID also became a platform for them to try a lot of new things, and marketing by themselves was one of them. So why I say this is because of doing so, they were also able to get away or mitigate the middlemen
Yeah.
who traditionally have been doing this and undercutting and taking it for less and selling it for more, and whatever you may call. But then it's danda, yeah. I mean, it's work at the end of the day, right? Whatever means that they employ. But then now, post COVID, most weavers are turning entrepreneurs themselves, and that's a welcome sign as well.
Wow. That is such a positive flip to
Clearly.
a really difficult period in the lives of so many people. That's such a wonderful way life taught them the most essential thing to survive. And 6 years in a space that you were introduced to by, let's say, destiny, by the way circumstances turned to you. Any milestones or important highlights, Vrinda, in these years that you look back and reflect and are grateful that you are on the journey you're on?
Wherever I go, whoever I meet, if it is outside your town, even inside town, when you express an interest to meet, they all come wearing Ilkal saris. I have traveled to many places, including Delhi, Bombay, Mumbai, and Lucknow, as far as Lucknow. And during the expression of interest of, agreeing to meet them, the ladies in that area prefer to wear an Ilkal sari. It could be beg, borrow, steal. I mean, they may not have saris; they would have borrowed it from somebody, but they still wear Ilkal saris to come and meet me wherever I go across the country. And it can't be more gratifying than that. But then, in my own small way, I am just grateful that I have been given an opportunity to popularize, to create awareness about this weave. And I continue to do so. And anybody or everybody who I come across, always think that I must take one sari to just go along with her flow, to check it out, and then perhaps have come back saying, hey, you know what, I love the sari, I want more. And perhaps that's the power of this energy, this communication, this touch point. And the exercise is continuous. It is not to rest on the laurels. It is always because that one person could be a change catalyst, whoever it is, be it your friend, your relative, your own people in your space. I am a part of several sari groups on social media, and I'm told that I'm followed by lakhs of women, for the work I do there. But then this work shall be relentless, because the idea is, if I go to Kashmir, if some lady there says, you know what, I also know what an ilkal sari is, I don't think you want anything more. There's nothing more gratifying than what it can be, right?
That's so true. Such a profound thought, and what a tribute to you. Uh, oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Very rarely, I think you find your purpose and how. In your case, it's just the how of it that is.
Yeah, all this have come to some point, because for me it has been multitudes of experiences, all intended for one goal alone, and that does not happen to everyone and doesn't happen every day either. So maybe it is heeding to my calling, and
Yeah.
that calling also came so naturally and organically to me, that I didn't realize, and what a privilege it has been as well. And I will continue to do this. I will continue to create awareness, raise awareness about a weave of this kind. And when you go to Ilkal, and you see half of the town using your pictures as their statuses, and my photos in all the weaving clusters, it gives you a kick. You think, oh, not bad. You've been able to touch a few, but then that's the beauty. Because every single cluster that I go to invariably have a picture of me, an oversized picture of me. Sometimes I say, oh my God, I am so mismatched in this picture. It has got pixelated, but then the happiness of seeing me in these weaving clusters is huge.
Wow, wow. These moments are what make life so special. And when you have found the purpose and every element that you need to fulfill that purpose falls in place, you know you have the divine blessings also with you.
Very true.
Along with blessings, I'm sure there are millions of life lessons you've taken. Three of those that stay closest to you, three life lessons is how we normally end the conversation. What have yours been, Brenda?
Um, I will refer one life lesson to COVID, that you know it is the health that actually matters for whatever you want to do in life. They say character is lost, ABC is lost. No, it is just your health, because we lost a lot of weavers during the COVID. And during the pandemic, they all needed attention in terms of, monetary assistance to survive. That was one of the biggest lessons that we learned, that whatever you do, you should always have a backup in terms of, a monetary safety. uh, you know the government actually helped them for about 3 months continuously, because they were all without food and supplies. So we brought close to about 25-30,000 weavers under the scheme, to ensure that their rosy roti was secured. So it is, at the end of the day, your a foolproof backup plan and your monetary assistance to do whatever work you want to do. I tell this also because we are doing a lot of revival work. When you do a revival work, you arrest his daily wages, right? Because you're trying something new. You ensure that the loom is being used for that and not for his daily bread and butter. Unless I pay him for his time or her for her time, the work can't be done. So all of these need to have a backing. So it is your health, and it is your money. A monetary backing is a must. One life lesson learned during pandemic or post pandemic is, without a proper backup, nothing is worth continuing. The second one is, this is what I have learned, that being humble is everything. Because it's very easy to say, listen, I made a change, I affected so many people, I influenced so many people. No, there is the country at large that is waiting for your attention, and that is a huge canvas for you to work on. Unless you're grounded, and unless you think that every day is a new start, you will not be able to reach the number that you intend to, and the kind of people that you want to touch and say, hey, listen, I have a weave, I have a story, I want to teach you, I want you to know about it, and own one sari. So, being grounded or being humble are the most important things here, because within one reel, people become famous. Social media is such an impactful platform that you could be famous overnight, and you could say, listen, I've already arrived, I've already evolved, and I can do much. But then, no, because every day is a new day to do this trial and error, unless you're grounded, unless you think that you are starting from the start grid. This will not happen, because the country is so huge. Yeah, I still want to go to Gujarat and say, listen, I want you to know about Ilkal. I want to go to Manipur and say, listen, I have an Ilkal sari, I want to tell you a story. I guess this journey will not end. And the third thing, a very, very important thing, is it just doesn't matter what you did yesterday. If I reflect back on the time that I spent doing my corporate work, I realized that perhaps all that energy, all that experience, or could have gone, influencing a whole lot more than, a restricted space that I was in. But then every day is such a beautiful day. And that's a saying, right? If you are given lemons, make lemonade out of it. When you're getting lemons every day, you can make different kinds of lemonades. Yeah. So every day you're getting, if you are able to, garner one lemon a day, make different lemonades out of it. And life is so beautiful thereby. So this is what I have learned. And for me, every day is a beautiful lemonade. It's a different lemonade. I'm sure there are 365 ways of doing lemonades, and I'm trying one every day.
Wow. Love your attitude. And now I know why you have reached and made that difference to whoever you have met. Such an honor having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty, Vrunda. Such an inspiring story. And I wish and pray the story reaches as many people as possible, because it gives hope to those of us who sit and think, what can one person do? You showed us one person also can make a huge difference. God bless you and
So much.
stay blessed.
Thanks a lot, Rashmi. And I'm thankful to you, because you are also one of my touch points. Because any touch point, however big, however great, however medium or small, does make a difference when we are on this journey. So thank you so much for that.
Stay blessed.
Thank you.
With that, we complete this episode of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know inspirational people whose story needs to be heard. You can write in at rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thirthdeye@gmail.com.